You're listening to the Hella Well with Danielle show, a podcast taking women of color on a journey exploring all things wellness and travel related. We're all about showing you how to put on your oxygen mask first and creating lasting self-care habits that will free you to travel the world and live the life you truly desire, and not one you have to fake loving. I'm your host, Danielle Washington. Now let's buckle up and start this journey. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Hella Well with Danielle podcast, your weekly mental vacation for the busy woman who's on her grind and just needs a moment to pause, woosah, and just breathe it out. I am your host, Danielle Washington, and I got a lot of responses over last week's podcast episode about being someone else's person and how to do that without losing yourself. And one of the things people kept bringing up, it was hard to say no. It was difficult to say no without guilt. And so I was like, and I get that. We live in a world that expects us to say yes. So how do we find the courage to make those boundaries and not feel guilty about it? I know I've struggled with it. And I know most of you understand the value of saying no. It's not like, oh, this whole podcast is going to be about saying no. That's not it, because I already know you all got that. So I'm not even going to waste your time or my time telling you why you need to say no. I know you know why the no is important. But the real struggle isn't knowing that we need to say no, which is what many of you were talking about, and which I agree, because we're both in that same, I see you, sis. It's about knowing how to do it without the burden of the guilt, without the overanalyzing, oh man, I wonder how they took it. Maybe I should try to find a way to fit this in, even though it's probably going to put me in the hospital. No, that's the real struggle. The real struggle is how to say no gracefully, how to say no without feeling the guilt. And so that's what I want to talk about. So stay with me as we take another step on this healing journey, as we unpack some strategies around this, talk about the impacts of a graceful no, opposed to just saying yes when we really didn't want to say yes, or saying no harshly and feeling like, I don't care about your feelings, because that's not the best way either. It's not just about being all rigid about it. So I want us to kind of go into how can we gracefully say no. But before we jump on this ride, you know how I like to do it. Let's go into a moment of just grounding ourselves with the guided breathing exercise. If you haven't been following me on social media, this month we're doing the August Breather Challenge. So every day on my Instagram stories, I am posting breathing exercises and tips and just other knowledge about breathing, and just or moments just to say pause, stop scrolling, take a moment to inhale, exhale, and then going on with your day. Because honestly, we all can use a breather. We all can use that pause. So come join me. There's no signups for 60 seconds every day. And get this healing, get this moment of understanding why the breath is so important, to understand why you're most likely not using your breath to the best ability. So basically you have your body on this anorexic diet of oxygen because you're holding your breath. But I digress. Anywho, so today we are going to focus in on box breathing, which is often used in yoga and stress management. It's real easy to do. We've done it before, but I love it. And I think it's just a good go-to breathing exercise. So we're going to inhale for the count of 4. We're going to hold for the count of 4. We're going to exhale for the count of 4. And then hold the breath out for the count of 4. And then repeat. So let's start getting into a comfortable position. Closing your eyes if you can. If not, it's okay. This is also a great breathing technique to do if you're walking, you're moving, if you're at work. This works at all places, at all times, which is why I love the breath, because it's always with you. It's like your own personal genie. Anytime you need a moment to calm down, you're like, genie, breath, I need you to help me calm down. And you just tap into it and voila. All right, so getting comfortable, closing your eyes. And I want you to begin to inhale through your nose to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale slowly. 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath out. 2, 3, 4. And inhale deeply through your nose. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath out. 2, 3, 4. And inhale deeply. Hold the breath. And exhale. Just take a moment to be still. I know we only did 2 breaths, but you can only take one little round of box breathing, maybe 2 rounds, maybe 3 or more, to really make a difference. Remember that this tool can help you, can enhance your clarity and setting boundaries, which is why I like doing this breathing exercise. Okay, so the art of saying no gracefully. Let's be clear. This is not about just declining invitations and turning down requests. It's not just saying no, which is important on its own. It's about honoring our personal boundaries while also respecting and nurturing our relationships. Like we talked about last week about being someone's person, that's a relationship. It's about creating the authentic relationship. So to be able to create those authentic relationships in your life, sometimes you gotta say no. But you gotta learn how to say no gracefully. Saying no gracefully is like a gentle yet firm yoga pose. Like when you have the yoga pose down like really well and you're like doing it and you're like, I'm solid in it, versus you're like, oh, I'm weak, or I'm trying to overextend myself, or I'm doing something that I probably shouldn't be doing, but I said yes when I probably should have said no, and oops, I've hurt myself. No, this is a gentle yet firm situation where we're honoring our truth. It's about recognizing when our plate is full and understanding that saying no to some things means saying yes to ourselves. So as we explore today this topic, I want you to think about how saying no might actually deepen your ability to be someone's support system and not diminish it. Oftentimes we think if we say no, we're diminishing being someone's support. We're diminishing being someone's person. So I want you to just kind of, through your open heart and through your mind, or just being open in general, think about how being able to say no gracefully might actually be the key to you having the ability to be someone's support system in a way that is honoring you and that person. Because by taking care of ourselves, by recognizing our limitations and acting on them, recognizing them, we do this all the time, but recognizing it and acting on them, when we can show up for ourselves fully and authentically, and for those who we love, now that, my dear, that's a whole other thing. Being able to say no gracefully so beautifully ties back into what we were talking about last week. So that's why I wanted to have this conversation. And I'll be giving really concrete tips about how you can actually do this and how it works for you, and that could potentially be a game changer for many of you a little bit later on in the episode. But the other reason why I wanted to do this now is because the holidays are coming up. It is mid-August, and I can't believe it's mid-August because we just had Lionsgate earlier this week, and now we're skipping over to September, which is birthday month. Woo woo. You blink 1 second, then it's October, that's Halloween. You blink again, that's Thanksgiving, and then it's the holidays. It's Christmas and everything else, and whatever you celebrate. And those times of the year happen to be, or often are, some of the craziest months of our lives. Because you know what that means. That means your schedules are crazy. There's more demands being thrown at you. And yes, most likely there's some more stress. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to mean more stress. And that's the reason why I wanted to do this now, because I wanted us to get this information about how to say no gracefully now, so we have time to practice before the storms start coming our way. Again, I know that you know that no is important. And it sounds so simple, doesn't it? No. It's a short word. It's 2 letters. Yet these 2 little letters carry a lot of weight for many of us. For many of us, saying no isn't just about a refusal. It's a moment of self-definition, a declaration of boundaries. But like, seriously, why does it feel so hard? Like, you want to give those declaration of boundaries. You want to say, no, this is my line. This is my boundary. And we can say no. I know many of you say no, but saying no and then not feeling guilty after it, or like wanting to like, oh, let's see if I said no, but maybe I can switch things up and I can squeeze this in. And there was an interesting study. I laugh. I'm going to tell you anyway, but I did laugh when I saw the study. There was a study done by the University of California in San Francisco that found out that the more difficulty people had with saying no, the more likely they had experienced stress, burnt out, and even depression. And I was like, girl, I could have told you that. I don't know what money y'all spent. Y'all could have gave me that money. I could have gone to the trip to Maldives, probably somewhere or else somewhere beautiful, to tell you that that's such a duh moment. But I was like, okay, I see you. At least you did the study to confirm what most of us already know. We already know that the simple act, or the lack thereof, can have a profound effect on our mental and emotional well-being, especially for women. And I hate saying this, but this is the world we live in, and I want to change it. But saying no, especially as a woman, we feel like, quote unquote, we're supposed to be a certain way. We're supposed to be nurturing. We're supposed to be caretakers. We're supposed to take care of everyone. We're supposed to be the mothers of the world, even at the expense of our own well-being. And I'm not subscribing to that feeling anymore. Granted, yes, it still shows up in my life in different ways. So yes, I guess I am subscribing to it to some degree. But in general, my goal is to be like, nope, blank that. Nope, I have canceled that membership. And I've been there. Just like you. I've been in those moments when saying no was the only way to stay true to myself. But the fear and the guilt just tugged at my heart so much that I said yes because it felt like it was just mentally easier on everyone for me to say yes, even though it was probably the worst thing for me to do. I've worried about being deemed as being selfish, uncaring, inadequate. I felt that pang of guilt, that tightening in my chest as if I was letting people down, that anxiety. So I'm not talking about this from, oh, that sounds interesting, people. I've never experienced this. No, I have experienced this, and I still experience it. I was literally experiencing this the other day when I had a situation where I knew someone needed me to help them. I knew that they were struggling in a way that I was like, oh, they're struggling. And I had to say no. Danielle, this ain't your fight. For many different reasons, I had to say no. And I kept finding myself, well, maybe you can, no. And I would breathe through it a couple more times, and breathe through it a little bit more, settle down. Then again, it would come back up. Well, what about this you can do? And I had to keep saying to myself, no. What I've learned through all this, and why I want to share with you, is that you're not alone in this. The struggle is a human struggle. It's not a female struggle. It's not a black woman struggle. It's not a black struggle. It's not an American struggle. It is a human experience struggle. It doesn't make you weak or unworthy. It makes you human. And being human means that we can learn, that we can grow, and we can also find ways to be more graceful and more compassionate. So why is it important to be graceful with your no? Isn't saying no enough? Yeah, it may sound like that's the case, but it's not. Saying no gracefully is important because it helps us maintain the sense of respect and empathy. It connects us to our relationships in a more authentic way. I mean, saying no outright can sometimes sound like hella dismissive and harsh. I mean, think of any episode of The Real Housewives. It just feels like when you say no harsh, it feels like you're saying right after, you're like, and here's my Nene Leakes gift. I said what I said. That don't feel good. It don't feel good. A graceful no shows that you value the relationship. It helps reduce conflict. It enhances self-respect. It helps promote honest conversation. I mean, there's so many different other reasons why. But even on an energetic level, there's energetic implications of why it's important. It's more than just a verbal response. It's a way of aligning your energy with your truth and maintaining that harmonious flow in your interactions. Like saying no gracefully allows you to be more in alignment with yourself. Like when you say no gracefully, you're honoring your own truth and your boundaries. This alignment generates a positive energy flow within yourself, helping you feel like more at peace and more centered, which is what you probably want. It helps preserve your personal energy so you're not feeling so drained. It helps you reduce stress and guilt. By saying no gracefully, it helps you like literally approach things in a different way. You're approaching things with empathy, with clarity. You're reducing that energetic tension that might otherwise arise because you were saying no harshly or you're saying yes when you wanted to say no. And there's so many other ways that this kind of plays into play energetically. But the other one I wanted to really mention to you was that it helps you avoid misunderstandings. By being clear and compassionate with your no's, it helps you avoid that ambiguity, the confusion. It ensures the other party that you understand your reasons without feeling attacked or rejected. Saying no gracefully it's an art form. It literally is. It allows you basically to be able to stand in your truth. And it's not heartless, and that you're standing true and being grounded in the fact that it's not heartless to honor your own needs. It's not heartless to know when I don't have it right now. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't have the money. I don't have whatever it is. And even if I don't have it, I don't want to give it. My therapist told me this saying that I thought was so powerful. She's like, anything outside of a yes is a no. Like when we hum and haw and all these other things, and we kind of make these kind of alternate kind of, well, maybe I could do, but that's still a no. Anything but a yes is a no. And it's okay for it to be a no. But being able to give a no in a way that honors both you and the other situation, I think is just a powerful way to show up. It's a vote towards you choosing to be the person you want to become. Every action you take is a vote towards you being the person you want to become. So don't you want to become a person be a person who is graceful with their words and their actions and their energy? So how do we go about this? One thing that I found that has worked well for me is keeping it simple and firm, like a confident yoga pose. Like all I like to say is thank you, but I can't do this at this time. Like there's no need for the backstory. When we start telling backstories and, I said no because, my mom's sick and, this happened and I have to work and I have all these different deadlines. Giving all the excuses, which many of us do, is us feeling like, I have to have someone accept my no. And you don't. You don't need someone's approval of your no. Only one's approval you need of your no is your own. So keep it simple. There's no need to give justification. And remember, oftentimes, why you're giving justification. Ask yourself, why do I feel like I need to justify my no? Why can't no be no gracefully? I also want you to make sure that you're aligning with your values. Check in to see if this is in line with your current values and commitments. And if it is, then okay, maybe it's a yes and it's okay. But if it's not, it's okay too. And maybe it's a delay in response, and that is a strategy as well. Maybe it's not a yes or no, but maybe it's can I think about this and get back to you? You don't always have to answer right away. I think sometimes we feel like we have to answer right away because we feel like, they asked, so I need to give them a yes or no immediately. No, delay your response. And be preemptive with your boundaries. Make your boundaries known. Make your boundaries known so people know that you have commitments. Like, I'm committed to my self-care on the weekends. Or every Thursday, I'm committed to certain things. Like, make sure people know your boundaries. And this can play in many different ways. So like, say you're at work and then you have a situation where you need to say no gracefully. A graceful no at work is, thank you, but I have other commitments. With the family, it could be, I love spending time with you, but I need to rest. Can we reschedule? Among friends, I can't make it, but let's catch up soon. Those are simple and beautiful ways to say no gracefully. And even when you're able to say no gracefully, you still may have moments where you may feel guilt, you may feel that burden, and the throat might feel tight, or your chest may feel hurting, or whatever it is. I want you to, in those moments, to recognize the source. What's the trigger of the guilt? Reflect on your capacity in these moments. Like sometimes when I understand, I ask myself, do I have the capacity? Do I have the energy? Like what is the consequences? Sometimes we don't think about the consequences of saying yes. We don't think about the consequences of saying no where we feel guilty. But I want you to reflect on your capacity. I also found creating a no ritual, whether it's a brief meditation or breathing exercises or something that reinforces your self-care, is great. Like sometimes when I say no and I start feeling that guilt feeling coming on, that's when I'll breathe. That's why I'll do the box breathing. That's why I wanted you guys to have that exercise so you know how to do it just in case you needed it. Having that support system, someone you can talk to when you can cheer each other on. Girl, I said no and I feel good about it. Someone you know is not going to judge you. Sharing can help diminish that guilty power of giving yourself that grace of being able to be gracefully with your saying your no. And remind yourself of the yes and a no. Every no, every freaking no you say is a yes to something else. And that something else could be you. It could be something else that has more of an impact in your life, that bring you more joy. So every no, there's always a yes. So there's always a positive side to a no. There's always a yes. Because we're past the conversation of, oh, it's important to say no. We're past that. So I'm hoping this episode offered you some insights and some tools to help you navigate how to say no gracefully and how to overcome this guilty feeling that pops up every now and then. Again, don't forget that we have the August Breather Challenge going on, so feel free, if you are doing it, to share that you're doing it. Hashtag August Breather Challenge or hashtag Mental Vacation Challenge. I always appreciate everyone's support and their feedback, and give me comments about what you thought about this podcast episode and what came up. And so I want this to be an open dialogue. This is a journey that we're taking together. Until next time, remember to breathe deeply, set those boundaries, and embrace your unique journey. And for those who are still listening, I'm going to offer you a little gift. If you are interested, because I've had a couple people talk to me about it in my Instagram DMs, I will create a special guided meditation about overcoming guilt or something around guilt. So if that's something of interest, send me a DM on Instagram or send me an email or send me something, anything but smoke in the air, because there's too many wildfires around this world, so don't do that. But other than that, continue breathing deeply, setting boundaries, and knowing that you are amazing. I'll talk to you soon. Ciao. Thanks for joining us this week on the Hello Well with Danielle show. Make sure to visit our website, hellowellwithdanielle.com, where you can subscribe to our show on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music and never miss an episode. Also, you can follow us on social media at Hello Well with Danielle on Facebook and Instagram, and Hello Well Danny on Twitter. And if you like hella love the show and got some good nuggets out of it, know that I'm not too proud to ask for you to please leave a rating or review on iTunes so that we can continue to expand our reach and help other women of color. Again, thanks so much for listening, and I hope to see you next week. Ciao.